Major in early education. Zach's the son of Terry Bucks, the senior class secretary, serves as the varsity football team manager, was a proud member of the 2016 Whitfield Championship team. In the future, he plans to attend Robert Morris University, where he will study business. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Nicole Patterson and Mr. Zach Buck. Our next couple, Ms. Livy Younger, escorted by Tim Tan. Livy is the daughter of Karen and Billy Younger. She's a member of the varsity cross-country team as well as the varsity track team. She's also a high honor student here at West A. In the future, Livy plans to attend a four-year university as well as continue running in college. Tim is the son of Arthur and Elena Wong. Tim's a proud member of the West Allegheny Marching Band as well as varsity cross-country and track teams. Tim's a student leader here at West Allegheny, serving as the senior class president, peer-to-peer, martial arts club, Friends of Rachel Club, National Honor Society, and the percussion ensemble. Tim has received numerous honors throughout his high school career, including National AP Scholar, highest honors throughout his high school career. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Livy Younger and Mr. Tim Tan. Now, please welcome back the 2016 homecoming queen, Ms. Sydney Saunders. Sydney is escorted this evening by Brady and Brogan McFate, son and daughter of high school teacher Minnie McFate. Sydney is a freshman at Chatham University, where she is studying to become a physician's assistant. Welcome back, Sydney. Now, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll, please. Your 2017 homecoming king and queen are Tim Tan and Kaylee Fisher. Congratulations, Tim and Kaylee.
That looks like a sack there.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for the presentation of our national color and main stage of the national anthem. Our national flag accompanied by the Marine Corps colors. Our national flag, accompanied by the Marine Corps colors, presented today by members of the West Allegheny High School United States Marine Corps Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. Carrying the national color and commanding the color guard is Cadet Gunnery Sergeant Victoria Crawford. The organizational color is in charge of Cadet Corporal Emma Ham. The rifle bearers are Cadet First Lieutenant Kate Carnot and Sergeant Zach Jurgis. The West Allegheny High School Show Choir, under the direction of Mrs. Megan Bruno, will now sing our national anthem.
WPIAL Allegheny 9 action as the West Allegheny Indians welcome the Baldwin Highlanders to Imperial, Pennsylvania. Hello, everyone. I'm Brendan Ross. I join alongside my partner, Mitch Montani. And first, let's take a look at what happened last week as West Allegheny traveled to Bridgeville to take on the Colts of Chartiers Valley. Will Weber winning his third consecutive Player of the Game honors last week in the 49-29 drubbing of the Chartiers Valley Colts, a game in which the West Allegheny Indians dominated the first half, but in the second half, it was a bit of a different story.
Absolutely, Brandon. West Allegheny, as they typically do, pull out early and take an early lead. But however, what was not seen on the scoreboard was the fact that Char Valley kind of low-key stayed in the game for a longer period of time than people expected them to. They fought and battled in the second half, and in a normal year, what would have probably been a mercy roll type game, hung in it and only managed to lose by 20 points. Chartiers Valley outscored West A in the second half by a few points as well.
Absolutely, as captains meeting at midfield, something a little bit, I don't want to say odd, but something out of the ordinary, as we've seen in the past few seasons here at West Allegheny. There's more than just your typical four captains. You have Nick Falk, Jackson Falk, and Grace Falk, along with their mother, who are out on midfield right now. And you'll also notice on the sideline, everyone's wearing gray shirts alongside the uniforms as well. The gray shirts are in commemorance of Scott Falk, the father of football player Nick Falk and basketball players Grace and Jackson Falk. He suddenly passed away earlier in the summer. An unfortunate situation there, but really West Allegheny is going to be playing with emotions held high, considering that we will be remembering Scott Falk here tonight, who was described as someone who always had a positive attitude, always had something nice to say, and something I knew pretty well from basketball season. Whenever I would PA announce the boys and girls basketball teams, he would always tell me that I'm an inspiration to him and his family. Well, tonight, Scott, you're my inspiration. Week 4 getting set to commence. The Baldwin Highlanders, a very young team, going up against not necessarily a young West Allegheny team that fields a lot of seniors, but an inexperienced West Allegheny team that lost a few players from last season, whether to graduation, transferring schools, moving on elsewhere. And Baldwin, on the other hand, they only have 9 seniors on the team, and most of their starters are sophomores, as there were 2 juniors that were captains, Lucas Perfetti, Isaiah Felix, alongside sophomore quarterback Mason Stahl, a very young team here at Baldwin. Some of the keys to the game for both teams. For the Baldwin Highlanders, they need to come out strong in the first half if they want to hope to upend the West Allegheny Indians. They kept it tight last week against Upper St. Clair, only trailing 14-6 before the Panthers would pull away in that game. So if Baldwin can jump on West Allegheny early and kind of stun them a little bit, Baldwin has a chance. They also need to capitalize on defensive miscues. As we saw in the second half last week, West Allegheny's defense isn't as strong as it has been in the past. So if Baldwin can capitalize on that, it'd be very helpful for them. And then finally, get the ball to your skill position players such as Dre Howell, Isaiah Felix, Angelo Priori, amongst others. For West Allegheny, they need to clamp down defensively and pretty much put that second half last week against Chartiers Valley behind them, as this kick is up and underway, but we're going to get a whistle before Colby Stout can boot it off. The other keys, West Allegheny needs to play that complete game. The second half has been a very big struggle for Bob Palco's squad, which is very unusual. They're typically a team that usually comes out firing, or at least if they struggle in the first half, they come back strong in the second half, and that hasn't been the case this season. And finally, they need to develop, whether it be Cam Cruz or Jamie Diven, they need to develop that starting quarterback. And considering that Baldwin isn't one of the top teams in the Allegheny 9, this is a perfect opportunity for Bob Palco to develop Cruz or Diven as the starting quarterbacks going forward. So the penalty was on West Allegheny. Will re-kick, and Colby Stout's kick, end over end, over to the 26-yard line, will be fielded there by a Baldwin Highlander. He gets pounced on by Nate Vislowski at the 30-yard line. Taking it, that one was Tyler Gerchak. So Baldwin won the toss. It elects to receive, and the Highlanders will start at their own 30-yard line. Offensive starters for Baldwin. You have sophomore quarterback Mason Stahl behind Two tailbacks that we'll see playing time, Angelo Priori and Isaiah Felix. Fullback is Zach Pettit, while the receivers, Dre Howell, Nick Latchett, and Nasir Penn, along with senior tight end Aaron Novak. The starting offensive line from left to right, Lucas Perfetti at tackle, Noah Bardick at guard, Harry DePietro at center, Perry Herrera at right guard, and Brad Freeman at right tackle, as the pass over to the left side from Stahl complete to Dre Howell, and Howell getting close to the first down, and it's going to be a half a yard shy.
Nico Flatty, the outside linebacker for West Allegheny, on the coverage on that one.
Nico Flatty getting thrusted into the starting role. After injuries to Noah Ledford, put Will Weber in his safety position, thus moving Flatty to Weber's normal outside linebacker position, and he's done very well in his second game as a starter. First handoff to Angelo Priori. He slips through a couple tackles, and he gets out to about the 46-yard line, where he's tripped up by Will Weber. Baldwin, on his first two plays, moving the ball pretty well against a West Allegheny defense that was tested last week by the passing game of Chartiers Valley. So Baldwin picks up the first down of the Knights, led by sophomore quarterback Mason Stahl, who won the starting QB position from last year's starter Jeremy Jenkins before he got hurt versus West Allegheny last year. And Priori off left tackle. He's brought down by Nate Vislowski at about the 49-yard line. Ball's going to be placed at about the middle of the field. It's second down and about 7.
Baldwin really looking to throw here early on it. That was their first run play of the entire game. You do not have a running back in the top 10 in rushing this season.
Also keep in mind, Angelo Priori, the starting tailback for Baldwin, he's being regarded as one of the top recruits in the class of 2020 in the WPIAL, as he gets the handoff and carries 3 or 4 Indians with him to midfield before Anthony Delavay can fall on top of him. It's 3rd and 6. Starting defense for West Allegheny, they run a 3-4 as typical from defensive coordinator Brian Cornell. At your defensive line goes Brent Mangold at end alongside Mateo Van Damie on the other side. Bryce Manley gets a start at nose. The linebackers, Nico Flatty, Anthony Delavade, Nate Vislowski, and Tyler Gallant. The secondary, Isaiah Crow, Will Weber, Noah Ledford, along with Kyle Guilfoyle and Elijah Colliers. Stahl rose to his right. Pass complete to Latchett, hit hard by the 6'6" Isaiah Crow, who was covering Latchett on the slant pattern. And Baldwin is faced with a 4th down and 4. So Baldwin's not going to chance it. They're going to send the punt team out for first-year head coach Lauren Cooley. Was formerly the offensive coordinator last year at Clairton, which, yes, included Lamont Wade, who's now at Penn State, and Noah Hamlin, now at Cincinnati. Was also an assistant coach over at Plum and Gateway High School. Standing at the 39-yard line to punt for Baldwin is Jake Monroe. Monroe, one of the best kickers in the WPIAL, kicks it at an angle, and it twists out of bounds at about the 25-yard line, and West Allegheny is pinned back to start its first offensive possession.
On the near side.
So as we switch from defense to offense for West Allegheny, the starting lineup for the Indians looks like this. At quarterback, you'll have Cam Cruz, who's making his second varsity start after winning the job late in the game against North Hills 2 weeks ago. The running backs, you'll see a mixture of Will Weber, Dante Flatty, and Ty Gallant, along with Nate Vislowski and Anthony Takis at fullback. Takis is coming back from a mild concussion. They're going to ease him into getting back into the starting role. The wide receivers, Noah Ledford, Isaiah Crow, Colby Stout, and Jake Davis. But a bit of an unusual situation here. Mateo Van Damia is in the Wildcat formation. We normally don't see this out of Van Damia, as he runs to the left and is swallowed up there by Connor Sidoric for Baldwin. Mateo Van Damia, normally a starting tight end, but seeing his first carry of the 2017 season and his first varsity carry in his career at West Allegheny. Also starting at tight end will be Brent Mangold, and the offensive line, Anthony Delavade at left tackle, Seth Rosen at left guard, Zach Hogue is at center, Spencer Mason the right guard, and Sebastian Ricketts the right tackle. Weber now in the Wildcat on a 2nd and 9, runs to the right, and he's hit hard by Charles Harris of Baldwin. Weber gets down to the 30-yard line. It's 3rd down and 7. Charles Harris coming back from a rolled ankle that he suffered before the season started. And he's one of the better defensive linemen that Baldwin has. And they really missed him the past couple of weeks. Charles Harris already getting a tackle on the 2nd defensive play for Baldwin. We'll see how Sebastian Ricketts at that right tackle position can handle Harris coming back from that injury. But it's 3rd down and medium. Cam Cruz seeing his first snaps at quarterback in the shotgun. Correction, that's Jamie Diven. And Diven throws low to Isaiah Crow. So West Allegheny 3 and out on its first offensive possession, and the punt team is sent out.
Interestingly, that 3rd down was Diven's first play of the game. He just checked in right before that 3rd down was about to be snapped.
So Jamie Diven getting the start over Cam Cruz. And really talking to Bob Palco, he said that both these quarterbacks have abilities, and it really just depends on how he's feeling of who's going to start. So you see here tonight, Diven getting the start, his 3rd start of the season. Colby Stout will punt from his 15-yard line. And it's a high punt that's taken at the 40-yard line by Jaron Kelly. There's going to be a flag down as Paul Fedorka ran into Kelly on the fair catch, and this is going to tack on 15 more yards, putting Baldwin at the 45-yard line of West Allegheny.
Yes, Brandon, that flag came in a couple seconds after the play, but very, very late contact by the Indians kicking team for fair catch interference on that one.
Personal foul on the kicking team. Ran into the receiver after a fair catch signal. 15-yard penalty.
That's the inexperience coming into play from West Allegheny. A silly mistake that easily could be fixed up, and Bob Palco is not going to be happy with the gaffe committed by Fedorka. Baldwin now inside West State territory at the 45-yard line. Stahl throws the screen complete to Kelly. Kelly eludes the defense, and he's brought down by Veslowski at about the 44-yard line.
Also good coverage on that play by Brent Mangold. Read the play all the way and was able to tackle and limit to a 1-yard gain.
The officials for tonight's game: head referee Frank D'Amico, the umpire Don Trimber, head linesman Bill Mahoney, line judge Rico Davis, field judge Ryan Trimber, and side judge is Brian Bergman. Screen pass again, this time to Dre Howell, and he's suplexed to the ground by a couple West Allegheny Indians. That's Nico Flatty getting in on the stop alongside Isaiah Crow. 3rd down and 3 from the 41-yard line coming up for Baldwin, who's had more offensive success thus far in the opening stages of the game than West Allegheny has, which is something we haven't really expected, even though the Indians have struggled a bit offensively. Baldwin's able to move the ball pretty well against a West Allegheny defense that has struggled in the past few weeks. West Allegheny giving up 26 points a game. Let's see if Baldwin can improve its offensive numbers. It's the least successful offense in the entire Allegheny 9 as another dump-off pass. This time goes to Nick Latchett. Latchett eludes the defense again, and he's brought down to the 32-yard line. Nate Veslowski gets his 3rd tackle of the day, but it's another 1st down for Baldwin. Baldwin converting on 3rd down and medium. The Highlanders and head coach Lauren Cooley moving the ball pretty well, and this is what we talked about in the pregame show. Baldwin needs to jump out fast against West Allegheny, and if they can score, this will be huge for the morale of this Highlanders team. Priori met immediately in the backfield, still driving, but the play is blown dead at the line of scrimmage. And Priori is going to lose about 2 yards on that play. Tackle was made by Brent Mangold.
First run in a while for Baldwin. It really seems like the passing game is part of their game plan coming into this one. Priori, 12th in the Allegheny 9 conference this season. Baldwin not doing a very good job rushing the football so far this year. Priori only has 126 yards total coming into this one.
2nd down and 12. Stahl in at quarterback again. He drops back on the 3-step drop, has to escape the pocket, runs to the left, and runs over Colliers as he gets out of bounds at the 30-yard line. So even though the pocket collapsed there on Stahl, he was able to make a play with his legs and make something out of nothing on that play.
A lot of pressure in the pocket by the defensive end for West A, Mateo Van Damia. Got a lot of pressure on Mason Stahl there, but he was able to elude the pocket and pick up a solid 3-4 yards.
Mason Stahl, the starting quarterback. His sister Elena was a verbal commit at midfield to West Virginia, and Stahl is also a baseball player here at Baldwin. Screen pass to the tight end, Aaron Novak. It's jarred loose by Isaiah Crow. Pass is incomplete, and Baldwin's faced with a 4th down and 8. Keep in mind that Jake Monroe has one of the more powerful legs in the WPIAL, so it's going to be interesting to see what Baldwin will do on this 4th and 8 at the 30. General indication is that head coach Lauren Cooley will keep the offense out on the field, and Baldwin's going to try for a 4th down and 8.
Baldwin will go for it here on 4th down.
And late movement before Stahl can get the snap, and it's going to be a 5-yard penalty against the Fighting Highlanders down to the 35-yard line, and that pretty much puts Baldwin out of field goal range if they were to attempt a field goal.
4th down.
Then we'll move the ball back to
So Herrera, Friedman, Perfetti all jumping off sides before the ball was snapped, and it looks like the punt team will be sent out.
4th down and about 12.
Jake Monroe out the punt for the 2nd time here tonight for Baldwin. Will Weber back deep at the 10-yard line and is where he will stand. Pressure coming from the left side from Galan, and he's unable to get there as the punt will trundle into the end zone for a touchback, and West Allegheny will start at the 20.
Jake Monroe, number 35, kick will go into the end zone.
First 3 drives of the game, all ending in punts. Baldwin having 2 first downs on the night, while West Allegheny went 3 and out on its first possession.
The officials will bring it out to the
So the Indians need to get something going, especially against one of the teams that isn't expected to compete for a playoff spot. So West Allegheny needs to get rolling, especially considering that Baldwin's coming off of a good first half last week against Upper St. Clair. They were only down 14-6, and St. Clair, one of the top teams in the Allegheny 9, probably the team to beat in the conference if you discount West Allegheny. So now it's Weber in the Wildcat formation. Runs to the right side, and he's brought down by Charles Harris, getting a 3-yard pickup. Harris is fired up, making his first start of the 2017 season. It's 2nd down and 7 from the Baldwin 23.
West Allegheny trying to establish the run game with Will Weber here in the Wildcat on their 2nd drive. Weber averaging 6.8 yards per gain coming into this one.
Will Weber, 278 yards thus far. It's about 100 yards shy of the 1,000-yard plateau for his career. Could very well get it tonight if he has his way. Weber on the direct snap runs to the left, and he's going to get brought down at the 25-yard line, make that the 26. West Allegheny set up with a 3rd down and 4 now. West Allegheny on its 2nd drive, struggling to get something going, and this time Cam Cruz will trot out on the field as the quarterback. Jamie Diven was the quarterback on that on the 3rd down and medium on the last drive and couldn't complete the pass. Let's see what Cam Cruz can do. It's 3rd down and about 4 yards to go from the 26. Cruz fakes the handoff, will throw to the right, too short of Ian McBain. And Diven and Cruz both throwing pretty bad passes for both of their first passes of the game, and West Allegheny goes 3 and out for the second time.
Yeah, Brandon, on 6 offensive plays, and we're not including punts on this one, 4 players have taken a snap for West Allegheny thus far. That was the first of the game we've seen thus far from Cruz.
Colby Stout on to attempt another punt from the 26. He's standing at the 11. Back deep is Jaron Kelly, who's over at the 40-yard line. And Stout will run up to it and get this one away. Kelly has to fair catch it at the 39-yard line. Baldwin will set up shop from there, 1st and 10.
At the Baldwin 39-yard
Other games going on around the Allegheny 9. Here tonight, you have the Upper St. Clair Panthers traveling to Fox Chapel, what is probably the game of the week in the Allegheny 9. The Moon Tigers are at North Hills. The Woodland Hills Wolverines traveling to Chartiers Valley, while the Hampton Tablets in the only non-conference game is in Monroeville taking on the Gateway Gators, and my personal pick to at least make the championship game when we get to Heinz Field. But Angelo Priori runs into a wall at the 40-yard line. Play is blown dead. After a maybe 2-yard gain, it's 2nd down. Priori being described as an exceptional back with speed and power from head coach Lauren Cooley. Recently took a visit to Penn State. Actually, just a week ago, his older brother is Artie, who plays over at Robert Morris and is a major in bio and pre-med. But here's Mason Stahl rolling to the right. The pass is intercepted. Kyle Guilfoyle steps in front of the path of Nick Latchett, intercepts the pass at the 45-yard line, and West Allegheny will set up at the Baldwin 45-yard line. It's 1st and 10.
Little miscommunication there between Mason Stahl and his wideout, Nick Lockett. Lockett was headed downfield, and Stahl, I guess, believed that Lockett was going to turn back around. But as you see on the replay here, little miscommunication between Stahl and his wideout.
So West Allegheny will take over from there. Will Weber barking orders to his offensive line. Weber runs right, gets a block from Mangold, and gets down to the 42-yard line, where he's tackled on the play. Making the stop, Noah Bardick, also a wrestler at the heavyweight level. And it'll set up 2nd down and 7.
Tolliver, number 36, at the stop.
Will Weber
Gain of 3.
coming into this game, as I mentioned before, 278 yards on the season. More than likely will break the 300-yard plateau. His brother Steven was in the military, and Will was also an honorable mention at linebacker last season. Holds a few Division I offers as he throws the pass to Mateo Vandamia. Vandamia splits the defense and uses his power to drive forward to the 30-yard line, where he's tackled by Isaiah Felix. And West Allegheny with its first down of the night.
Little trickery there by West Allegheny. Vandamia lining up in his normal tight end position, was able to back up and get right into the throwing lane of the quarterback on the play, Will Weber, for a good 1st down for West A.
Vandamia, a 6'1", 230-pound junior, one of the best tight ends in all of the WPIL, let alone the class of 19. But Dante Flatty, left side, has a hole, dives forward to the 10-yard line.
Dante Flatty, number 6.
A big run there by Flatty, putting West Allegheny at the 9-yard line. Jaron Kelly saves a touchdown, making the stop at the 9-yard line.
Number 3, the stop, but not before.
So West Allegheny being set up inside the 10-yard line. This is the 13th appearance inside the 20-yard line for West Allegheny. And they've scored on all but one possession inside the 20, or at least they've scored touchdowns on every possession in the 10 or the 20-yard line except for one. Flatty up the middle, getting down to the 5-yard line, where he's tackled by Matt Bauman, one of the several sophomores starting for Baldwin's defense.
You're moving to the 4-yard line.
And it's a 5-yard pickup for the junior. Second and goal from the 4-yard line. Clock is ticking down in the first quarter. Will Weber wants to punch it in from 4 yards out. We'll see what he can do. Runs to the right. Fakes. Dives in the end zone. West Allegheny takes a 6-0 lead off of another 4-yard run by Will Weber, his 6th touchdown of the year. And West Allegheny gets out to that early lead that it needed to get.
Yeah, Will Weber cutting to the right, finding a large hole on the right side of that offensive line, and able to pound through to the end zone.
On to attempt the extra point is Colby Stout. The holder is Jake Davis, and the long snapper is Zach Ho, the normal starting center. The kick is up, and it splits the uprights, and West Allegheny's lead is 7-0. 26 seconds showing on the first quarter clock. And it took a little while for West Allegheny to get rolling, but the interception by Kyle Guilfoyle setting up West A with prime field position. It only took them 5 plays to get into the end zone.
Goes to show you how crucial a turnover could be. Baldwin was hanging tough for most of that first quarter, able to hold West A to a couple 3-and-outs, and then a crucial mistake with that interception. What do you know? West A set up in prime position, and they ultimately take a 7-0 lead in this one.
Kyle Guilfoyle getting his 2nd interception of his varsity career, giving West Allegheny prime field position, and offensive coordinator Mark Davis and company are able to punch it in from 4 yards out thanks to Will Weber. A few nice plays being set up by Dante Flatty and the pass play to Mateo Vandamia. West Allegheny now up to a 7-0 lead. Colby Stout will kick off. Back deep for Baldwin, Jaron Kelly, and looks like that's Dre Howell for Baldwin. Correction, that's Nick Latchett. Alongside Howell, back deep to receive.
6 seconds remaining here in the first quarter.
Here comes the kick. Colby Stout bombs it, and it's taken by Dre Howell, the 10-yard line. He's a dangerous return man. Let's see what he can do. And he can't really do much as he's swallowed up by the kick coverage of West Allegheny, Nick Schell, and Ian McBain getting in on the stop. Baldwin will set up at the 25-yard line.
Let's see what the Highlanders can do here. Their first 2 possessions of the game, they at least managed to pick up a first down on this West Allegheny defense. Hopefully try to string a couple of those together and get down the field would be their goal here late in the first quarter.
Baldwin, one of the least successful teams in all of the WPIAL in terms of offense, only averaging 9 points a game, scoring a season-high 12 points last week in the loss to Upper St. Clair, but playing tough with the Panthers over in Upper St. Clair. Priori, a miscommunication, runs into his center and is hit hard in the backfield by Anthony Delavade for a loss. Delavade's had a bit of a quiet first half of the season, but makes a play there. A splash play by Delavade shows that the West Allegheny defense has momentum as we finish off the first quarter. West Allegheny leads 7-0 over the Baldwin Highlanders. It was slow to start for both teams. West Allegheny going 3-and-out on its first 2 possessions, but Kyle Guilfoyle jump-started West Allegheny with an interception at the 45-yard line, while the Indians went on a 5-play 45-yard drive, set up by a pass play to Vandamia and a run by Dante Flatty inside the 10-yard line, where Will Weber finished it off from the 4. And that's where we stand right now, 7-0 the score. West Allegheny on top of the Baldwin Highlanders. Brandon Rossi, Mitch Montani on the call for you on the West Allegheny Sports Network from Week 4 here at Joe P. DiMiccola Stadium. The West Allegheny Indians, ever since this crop of seniors became high school football players, this team's only lost once at home since 2014, which, first off, that's just ludicrous. Ever since I was a part of West Allegheny football in 2012, I've only seen one loss here at Joe P. DeMcCullough Stadium, that coming in 2015 to Central Valley. A significant home field advantage, but it's one of those things that you don't really expect, such as when you go to stadiums such as the Pit in Aliquippa and the Wolverina at Woodland Hills.
Absolutely, Brandon. You just think of how close some games at this stadium have been played. Woodland Hills back in 2014, North Hills just a couple weeks ago, etc.
Now in a quarterback, Jeremy Jenkins, who backs up Mason Stahl, was the quarterback last season before getting hurt against West Allegheny, as a matter of fact. And he throws it off to Aaron Novak. He's hit hard by the diminutive Noah Ledford, making the stop at the 25-yard line. So they were able to pick up a couple of those yards back, going to the original line of scrimmage, but a hard hit there by Ledford on the much bigger in size Aaron Novak. Baldwin has a 3rd and 10.
Props to Novak for hanging on to that one. He got hit from behind pretty hard on the screen from his quarterback, Mason Stahl.
Jenkins in at quarterback. The senior suffered a horrific injury last year against West Allegheny, where he missed not just the rest of football season, but basketball as well, as he bombs it, and it's going to go to no one, intended for Nasir Penn, but it's about 15 yards over his head, and Baldwin will go 3 and out.
Isaiah Crow and Noah Ledford with the coverage deep on that one for West Allegheny, not letting Baldwin get anything going deep down the field.
Also props to the defensive line, getting pressure on Jenkins, forcing the bad pass, and Jenkins had nothing going there except he didn't have any choice other than to throw it away. But Jake Monroe will punt. He stands at the 13, while Will Weber will go back deep. He stands at the 35. And the punt nearly blocked, gets run into, but no call made. Weber scoops it at the 32-yard line, has all sorts of room, now cuts it up the middle of the field. Has an avenue down the near sideline and runs out of real estate as he's tripped up on the play by Nick Latchett as he crosses midfield. A nice punt return by Will Weber. Going to be good for about 20 yards, and West Allegheny starts in Baldwin territory.
Good open field tackle there by Latchett. Will Weber looked to be on his way down the right side of the field there, but Latchett able to dive in open field and make a pretty solid tackle on Will Weber.
West Allegheny, the offense takes the field, getting all the momentum late in the first quarter after an interception by Kyle Guilfoyle. Weber in the Wildcat formation. Expect to see that a lot throughout the season and in this game. He splits the defense down to the 30, to the 25, makes a move, down to the 15, caught from behind by Nasir Penn, and Will Weber with a season-long run for him, getting down to about the 13-yard line. That's a 35-yard pickup for the senior.
Good block on that play by the junior fullback Ian McBain, making a pretty solid hole for Will Weber down the right side of that field.
Will Weber, Division I bound prospect, holding offers from Navy, Army, and Cornell, has really been the team MVP thus far. He's been the player of the game the last 3 weeks as he takes the snap, runs to the right, dives forward inside the 8-yard line, where he will be tackled by a host of Highlanders, making the stop Aaron Exler, the outside linebacker. It's now 2nd down and 5 from the 8-yard line. West Allegheny making 13 trips inside the 20-yard line and has scored 82 points. Very successful rate inside the red zone, and we'll see what the Indians can do from here. Weber again in the Wildcat. Expect this ball to go to him in some capacity, and it does. Runs up the middle, pushing the Baldwin defense backward. It dives to the end zone, and West Allegheny has a 2-score lead. 13-0 is the score after Weber's second touchdown run of the day, this time from 9 yards out.
Some more very efficient blocking before that touchdown by Ian McBain. This junior fullback for the Indians able to push upfield and get a pretty solid hole for Will Weber on the right side.
Stout on to attempt the extra point. As you see on the replay here, good open field awareness by Will Weber, and also trucking a few Highlanders into the end zone for the touchdown as the kick is up and good. Will Weber, again, being the team MVP thus far, is well on his way to surpassing the 1,000-yard mark in his career. Came into this game with 903 yards in his 4 years here at West Allegheny. So the Indians take a 14-0 lead. A pair of touchdown runs by Will Weber. The first coming in the first quarter from 4 yards out. The second you just saw moments ago, this time from 9 yards out. This time the drive only took 3 plays to get into the end zone. And West Allegheny is rolling after a bit of a slow start to begin the game, and the Indians are clicking on all cylinders right now.
That was the mistake Baldwin made. We said they needed to get a fast start, and they had an opportunity with 11 scoreless minutes by West Allegheny. But over the last 3 minutes or so, West Allegheny has really broken out of their slump and has been able to capitalize on some key Baldwin mistakes and push out to a 14-0 lead here early in the second quarter.
So Colby Stout will tee it up for the third time tonight. Back deep again, Latchett and Howe. And this one's off again. This time it's going to go back into the hands of Dre Howe at the 8-yard line, and gets to the right-hand side where he's tripped up on the play at about the 26-yard line, and Baldwin will set up shop from there. First down and 10. The tackle was made on the play by Blake Fisher, the freshman. The Baldwin Highlanders need to get something going offensively. It struggled to get anything going here in Lauren Cooley's first year at the helm of Baldwin football. Only scoring 27 points, giving up 92, and including this game, they've given up 106 points in 4 games. Toss, Priori, left side, and he's met on the play by Ricketts and company down to the 28-yard line. It'll be a 2nd and 8 for the Fighting Highlanders.
Baldwin really trying to get Priori going. They're going to need to if they want any chance of getting back into this game. You see them trying to change it up with a toss along the left side of the field this time, rather than the simple handoff they've been using thus far.
Priori kind of came out of nowhere to start as the running back in Baldwin. He is only a sophomore, but I would say he's expected to be the face of Baldwin football for the next 3 years. But Mason Stahl in at quarterback. 3-step drop, there's a flag, and the pass is complete to Latchett. He's going to be brought down as he crosses the 30-yard line by the safety Noah Ledford.
Pulled in by Nicholas Latchett.
General indication that it's a hold against the Baldwin Highlanders. We'll wait from head referee Frank
Illegal
D'Amico.
formation on the offense. 5 men in the backfield. 5-yard penalty. Replay, 2nd down.
Well, I got who was on right. It's just a matter of what kind of call it was. It was an illegal formation against the Highlanders. And Baldwin sets up at the 23 for a 2nd down and about 13.
Completion to Latchett there would have set up a pretty reasonable 3rd down and 5 or so. That penalty really hurts the Highlanders, now 2nd and long.
2nd down, 13.
Stahl back in at quarterback. Same formation as the last play with 1 receiver to the left, 2 to the right, and we're going to get a false start on the Highlanders. Jaron Kelly jumped the gun on the far right side of the field and backed the Fighting Highlanders up 5 more.
Offense, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
2nd and 18 now from the 18-yard line. Baldwin digging itself into a hole more and more with these penalties. We'll see what the Fighting Highlanders can do from here.
2nd down, about 18.
We're here at Joe P. DiMcCullough Stadium in Allegheny 9 Conference Showdown in Week 4 between the West Allegheny Indians, undefeated, going up against the last-place Baldwin Highlanders. West Allegheny looking to handle business as usual as Stahl fumbles the snap. There's a scrum for the ball, and it looks like it's recovered by Stahl for a 1-yard loss. It's 3rd down and 19.
Yeah, Stahl was able to jump on that one. A little bit of a miscommunication with his center, Harry DePietro, on the play. It was never good from the start as the ball slipped out of Stahl's hands right at the start of the play.
It's just a mixture of inexperience and Baldwin just repeatedly shooting itself in the foot. The Highlanders are now going backwards instead of going forwards on this 3rd down and 19. Stahl drops back and hands off to Priori. Priori has a wide open avenue, and he's spun down to the 34-yard line. It's a nice run for him, but the Fighting Highlanders are still 2 yards shy of the 1st down marker.
By far the best run in the game from Priori, able to pick up 15, 16 yards through the middle of that nickel defense from West Allegheny, able to rush right up the gut, but still not enough for a Highlander 1st down.
Jake Monroe out to punt for the 4th time. Pressure coming, and he's able to get it away. The ball will trundle inside the 25-yard line, and that's where it'll stop. West Allegheny will take over from there, 1st and 10.
Down inside the 25.
West Allegheny has been mauling the Baldwin Highlanders since really the 11-minute mark in the 1st quarter when Kyle Guilfoyle intercepted a Mason Stahl pass. The past 2 drives have ended up in West Allegheny touchdowns, one going from 45 yards out on a 5-play drive, while the 2nd drive ended up going only 3 plays for 48 yards. An official timeout taken by head referee Frank D'Amico and staff. And we're going to pause action here on the West Allegheny Sports Network. The road ahead coming up for the West Allegheny Indians. It will travel out of the conference and will travel about an hour and a half northeast of Imperial with a road game at Kiski before coming home in 2 weeks to host the Upper St. Clair Panthers in what is probably going to be the game of the year and what could ultimately decide the Allegheny 9 conference champion. And following that game, West Allegheny will hit the road again and travel to Hampton to take on the Talbots, who are in rebuilding mode. Hampton winning its first 2 games before losing a heartbreaker to Moon. Hampton's certainly on the up and up, and Upper St. Clair is also probably the team to beat in the Allegheny 9. On the other side of the coin, the Baldwin Highlanders next week will host North Hills and then step out of the conference for a home game against Connellsville. And then in week 7, we'll go on the road to take on the Fox Chapel Foxes. Cruz is in the shotgun with Weber dotting the I. And the handoff goes to Weber, and he gets nowhere.
Cam Cruz in at quarterback, hands off to Weber.
Making the stop was Takoa Henry, the reserve linebacker coming in for Baldwin. And it's 2nd down and 8 from the 27. This is one of those situations where you can develop those young quarterbacks. You have the sophomore Cam Cruz, who's been impressive in his first 2 games as the starting quarterback.
2nd down, 8.
Cam Cruz thus far 13 for 17, 121 yards, has a QBR of 136.26. And he'll throw the screen to the right side over the head of Colby Stout. Correction, that's Jake Davis, as he's hit hard by Felix, ensuring that the ball was not caught. It's 3rd and 8.
Jake Davis, number 9, will go incomplete and bring up a 3rd down and 8.
So Cruz and Diven will switch out. Here comes the junior. Really, this is a QB battle that is very wide open, and once Bob Palco and company can figure out who the starting quarterback is going to be, then it's pretty much time to run with it at that point. Diven, 3-step drop, middle screen to Kyle Guilfoyle, and it's too far behind him. And West Allegheny will punt.
As you were just talking about, Brandon, this quarterback battle has almost been existing from play to play. from drive to drive. It's very neck and neck. By far the most success so far today for West A has come with Will Weber from the Wildcat position, able to score twice to take this lead they currently have.
Only one completed pass out of 5 attempts for both Cruz and Divin combined. That pass being completed to Mateo Vandamia early on in the first quarter in the first drive that helped propel West Allegheny to this 14-0 lead with about 5.5 minutes to go in the first half. Bob Palco has to call a timeout as the clock was winding down and the formation hadn't even been set at that point. Miscommunication and inexperience coming into play for West Allegheny. An obstacle that the Indians can only overcome within time. At this point, not a lot of returning starters from last season. The WPIL Championship 2016 team graduating a lot, losing a lot in terms of transfers, moving out of states, not coming out for football. It's been a rough offseason for West Allegheny, but at the same time, it kind of gave this inexperienced group time to grow. And now it's just a matter of being able to get past some of these obstacles.
We want to wish good luck to our other varsity sports that have already started their fall campaign. We're open up this weekend.
Some scores around the Allegheny 9. The Gateway Gators on top of Hampton, as expected, but not by much. It's only 14-7 in the second quarter. While Chartiers Valley has a 6-0 lead over Woodland Hills, which is a tad bit surprising, but Woodland Hills has struggled mightily in the past couple of games. Punt is fair caught by Jaron Kelly at the 45-yard line. The Highlanders will take over from there, 1st and 10.
One thing Baldwin has definitely had at their advantage so far in this one has been field position. Their drives mostly starting from their own 40 and beyond, where they have very easy access to West Allegheny territory, but they haven't been able to make much of it. Still wearing a goose egg on the scoreboard with a little over 5 minutes left in the second quarter here.
Baldwin takes the field, not being able to move the ball at all in its last drive, only going backwards before Angelo Priori broke off a nice run, but it was still a 4th down from there, despite the 15-yard gain. And the Baldwin running back goes nowhere on that play. That was Nick Latchett getting the handoff, and he gets 1 yard before being swallowed up by a tribe of Indians.
Nick Latchett, the ball carrier.
2nd and 9 for Baldwin. Ball spotted at the 46-yard line after the carry by Latchett.
2nd down 9.
Latchett, one of the few seniors that start for Baldwin. There's 9 seniors on this team. Lauren Cooley compares him to Danny Woodhead of the Ravens, and he also won the Whippeal AAA pole vault last season. But Jeremy Jenkins unleashes a bomb to the right side, and the pass is caught on that far sideline to Latchett. Baldwin now inside the 20-yard line and has West Allegheny on its toes. It's 1st and 10 from the 16.
Yeah, one-on-one coverage for West Allegheny cornerback Isaiah Crow on that play. And he was unable to make the tackle after solid catch by the Baldwin Highlanders deep in West Allegheny territory now.
Baldwin challenging the right side of that field where the inexperienced corner Elijah Colliers resides. And we're successful on the last play, and we'll see what can come about on this Wildcat to Latchett. And he runs into his offensive lineman Lucas Perfetti, where a few West Allegheny Indians clean him up. Anthony Delavade and company make the stop at the 14-yard line. Clock now standing at 4 minutes and 10 seconds with a 14-0 lead for West Allegheny. Baldwin is driving, now inside the 15-yard line. Latchett in at the Wildcat QB. Correction, that's Priori standing to his left, and will hand off to Latchett. And Latchett splits through the defense and falls forward to the 8-yard line. So a change of running back for Baldwin and is paying dividends for offensive coordinator Mauro Mons. And Baldwin Now has a 3rd and 1 from the 7. Priori in at the Wildcat QB. Haven't seen a whole lot of this from Baldwin at all. Priori on the keeper, right side, and he outraces the West Allegheny defense and trots into the end zone. Touchdown.
Yeah, Priori finding a huge hole along that right side of the field. He's been rushing pretty much up the gut the entire game. Baldwin definitely changing things up there on that drive, giving Latchett some options, and now Priori.
Taking a look at the replay, the nice read option there, faking out the linebacker, Paul Fedorka, and pretty much outran the right corner of the defense, but it's a fake extra point, and getting into the end zone for the 2-point conversion is Jake Monroe, the kicker. The connection from the holder from Baldwin, and Jake Monroe gives Baldwin a 6-point deficit with 3 minutes and 23 seconds to play here in the first half.
Yeah, a drop step by the kicker after he took the holder after he took it, and there Monroe just cutting over to the left side, wide open on the play, able to race to the left pylon and the corner of the end zone to make this a now 14-8 football game late in the second quarter rather.
That's the third 2-point conversion given up by West Allegheny. It gave up 2 last week to Chartiers Valley. One was a botched extra point, as a matter of fact, but it ended up being a pass play like the one you just saw to Jake Monroe. And also one was an intentional 2-point conversion at a point in the game where it was pretty much decided from there. Nonetheless, West Allegheny giving up its third 2-point conversion in just week 4, which is very uncharacteristic from a Bob Palco team. Monroe to kick it off, standing at the 5-yard line to return, is Dante Flatty and Will Weber.
Jake Monroe, number 35, to kick off.
Monroe, one of the better kickers in the WPIAL. Might not even give Flatty or Weber a chance to return this one. And we're going to get an offsides on Isaiah Felix, who was streaking down the 40-yard line and jumped the gun a little too much. Baldwin gets backed up to the 35.
On the kicking team. 5-yard penalty. Re-kick.
It's been a quick first half so far. We already have 3 minutes and 23 seconds remaining in the first half. And we're not even an hour into this game officially. Monroe will kick it away again. Also a very successful basketball and baseball player. Monroe, a starter since his sophomore year as the kicker at Baldwin. Will kick off to Weber and Flatty. And this is a bomb down to the 6-yard line where it's taken by Weber. Will Weber outruns the kick coverage. Now goes to the left side. Breaks free to the 50-yard line, to the 40. Has some blockers in front of him. Weber looking to get in and will be tripped up out of bounds, but there is a flag down on the West Allegheny side of the field at about the 24-yard line. A nice return there by Will Weber. It looks like it's going to come back.
Block in the back. On the return team. 10 yards from the spot of the foul. First time, West Allegheny.
So what would be a nice return by West Allegheny, setting them up with prime field position to take a 2-possession lead once again, shooting themselves in the foot, which has been a theme all year, unfortunately, for if you're head coach Bob Palco. And the Indians will be backed up all the way to the 14-yard line.
And that's a real killer. It's plays like that.
So after that fine run is not
really hurt.
The Indians will put the ball in play.
Basically going to play defense from their own 14. Now West A starting at their own 14. A massive change in the cards at this one.
Dante Flatty, correction, that's Tyler Gallant, runs off right tackle. A nice hole being opened up by the right side of that offensive line. But he gets quickly swallowed up by Connor Shadurk, the outside linebacker. Ball is spotted at the 20-yard line. It's a 6-yard pickup.
Gain of 6 on the play. Second down 4. Ball at the 20-yard line.
The Indians getting ready to try on the 2nd down and 4. Flatty in the Wildcat, weaves his way to the right, where he is brought down on the play by Jaquan Henderson Parker. The reserve defensive end,
Jaquan Parker,
coming in the place of Charles Harris on that left side.
Highlanders.
It's now 3rd down and 1.
3rd down 1 for the Indians.
And what's been a surprisingly close matchup here at Joe P. DiMicala Stadium.
Ball at the 23 of WA.
On a 3rd down and 1, Will Weber takes a direct snap, runs to the right, picks up the first down as he is double teamed at about the 30-yard line by Jeremy Jenkins and Aaron Exler. West Allegheny converts on another 3rd down, and they'll try the no huddle with Divin coming in at quarterback. Divin tries the hard count. Now we'll get the play in from Tim Levchek.
Jamie Divin in a quarterback.
Relaying information from offensive coordinator Mark Davis. And Divin bobbles the snap, picks it up, runs to the right. Nice block there as the pass dropped by Isaiah Crow, who probably would have had a beeline to the end zone, but
number 18
the pass was too far behind him.
Miscommunication between Divin and his senior center, Zach Hogue, on that play. Divin dropping the snap, but still able to fire a quality pass down the right sideline there to Crow.
2nd down,
just was unable to haul it in.
West Allegheny, 1:22 remaining here in the first half of this football game.
Watch there, just Divin wasn't ready for the snap. It's a key block from Ricketts, bringing the play loose, and Crow just unable to hang on. He had 3 or 4 steps on the quarterback, Isaiah Felix. Divin remains in at quarterback on a 2nd and 10. 3-step drop, throws to the right side, too far ahead of Kyle Guilfoyle.
Divin's pass.
It's 3rd down and 10, where both quarterbacks for West Allegheny, Divin and Cruz, haven't been playing particularly well. It's been the running game that's really carried this West Allegheny offense.
Bring up a 3rd down
for a 14-8 lead. And Cam Cruz will get some reps in at quarterback with 1:18 to play in the first half. West Allegheny looking to score before heading into the half, but has to cover 70 yards in 78 seconds. Cruz drops back, now runs up the middle, and he's going to be brought down to the 35-yard line. Making the stop for the Baldwin Highlanders is Tyler Gerchak. And West Allegheny will send out the punt team on a 4th down and 5 from the 35-yard line, but the Fighting Highlanders elect to take a timeout. That's their first timeout of the first half. Clock is stopped at 53 ticks to talk here in the first half.
By far the most success for this game in West Allegheny so far has been that Wildcat formation where they have either Will Weber or Dante Flatty in the backfield. That's produced their scores on both of their drives. Will Weber scoring twice from that same position.
Weber scoring the only 2 touchdowns West Allegheny has boasted about here in this first half. Clock now reset to 57 seconds. While the lone touchdown was scored on the play by Angelo Priori, who saw some reps as the Wildcat quarterback, something that Baldwin hadn't done up to this point in the season. They've normally just handed it off to Priori, but Lauren Cooley trying something new, and it paid off, and Baldwin only trails by 6. Colby Stout on to attempt the punt. Back deep for Baldwin is Jaron Kelly for another return. West Allegheny has done the fake punt before, and they weren't going to elect to do that here. This is a knuckleball taken by Kelly on the run, but he waved his hand, fair catch at the 45-yard line. And Baldwin will look to close the gap in the final 52 seconds here in the first half.
More great field position as well for Baldwin, starting on their own 45-yard line. There's only been one possession so far in this game where they've started inside their own 40, and that's things you really need to get an offense, which has been averaging, coming into this one, less than 10 points per game going.
So the Baldwin offense trots out on the field. Jeremy Jenkins in at quarterback after taking the place of Mason Stahl. We haven't seen Stahl in about a half a quarter. And Jenkins will hand the draw off to Priori. He's hit hard in the backfield. Mateo Vandamia, Brent Mangold, the two defensive ends converge and stop Priori 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. No huddle for Baldwin. 2nd and 13. Jenkins calling out plays with two receivers to each side. Jenkins, 5-step drop, looks to throw, rolls to the right, throws, and it's caught on the sideline by Dre Howell. Correction, that's Nasir Penn getting his toes in, and Baldwin has a 1st and 10 from the 40.
At the West Allegheny 40-yard line.
An athletic play there by the sophomore, Nasir Penn. Baldwin will take a timeout. When we come back, they'll be placed at the West Allegheny 40-yard line. 22 seconds showing on the first half clock, where West Allegheny has struggled to put Baldwin away. Went up early in the late in the first quarter, early in the second quarter, and ever since then, it's really been Baldwin that's been on the offensive ever since.
Absolutely, and on that last play, very, very solid catch there on the right side of the field by Penn. Was able to cut upfield, but then cut back toward his quarterback and make a good catch along the sideline at the 40-yard line of West Allegheny.
Head coach Lauren Cooley, a 38-year-old head coach here at Baldwin, also a state trooper, was a standout wide receiver at Duquesne, and is one of 4 new head coaches in the Allegheny 9, including Tim Bossard from Woodland Hills, Dan Canals of Chartiers Valley, and Ryan Lynn from Moon, a former West Allegheny coach. 1st and 10. Jeremy Jenkins drops back, eludes the defense, goes to the left side, being chased by Vandamia, escapes him, but he's tripped up by Kyle Guilfoyle, and we're going to get a late flag. Looks like it was a late hit on the West Allegheny defense as Guilfoyle tripped Jenkins up, and a defender just tapped Jenkins on his way down.
Personal foul. Illegal contact on the defense. 15 yards tacked on to the end of the run. 1st down.
Another silly mistake by West Allegheny.
Illegal contact to call.
A helmet-to-helmet hit, which is illegal now in high school football. It's trying to make the game safer and avoid as many concussions as it possibly can. Baldwin now inside the 20-yard line, looking to get within at least a field goal, but Baldwin would at least like to tie this up. However, it will be a timeout charged on the play to Baldwin. That's its 3rd and final timeout. This will be the last play of the first half. 4 seconds showing on the first half clock. West Allegheny struggling against Baldwin here in the latter portions of the first half. And really, just if you're head coach Bob Palco, it's not very bright to see his team struggle against a team like Baldwin as the clock now resets to 7 seconds.
7 seconds remaining here in the first half.
West Allegheny picking up where it left off last week against Chartiers Valley. It jumped out to a 30-8 lead last week to Chartiers Valley, but stumbled a bit in the second half, and now Baldwin will attempt a 34-yard field goal. It's Jake Monroe from the left hash. 7 seconds to put Baldwin down by 3 points. Kick is down and nearly blocked. The kick is up, and it is good just inside the left upright. Jake Monroe puts Baldwin behind by only 3 points, and the Highlanders are making this very interesting with the reigning WPIL 5A champions.
Exactly, Brandon, and they make this a game where Baldwin has a very efficient kicker. We just noticed that with a 35-yard field goal by Jake Monroe, and it's very huge, making this a 3-point game with only 3 seconds left in the first half. Very little time for the Indians to work with when they get the ball back.
If Monroe elects to kick it deep, Flatty and Weber will be waiting at about the 10-yard line. But more than likely, Baldwin will like to take this 3-point deficit to the half. West Allegheny struggling to find momentum in the latter portions of the first half after scoring 2 touchdowns on back-to-back drives to end the first quarter, begin the second. Here comes Jake Monroe to kick it away. It's a squibber down to the middle row where it's picked up beneath the legs by Jake Davis. And Davis is going to be brought down at the 32-yard line as the clock expires. For West Allegheny, a disappointing first half, and if you're Baldwin, you can't be any happier than this, trailing by only 3 to what has been regarded as one of the top teams in the WPIL Class 5A.
Yeah, fantastic first half showing by Baldwin. Thought they were left for dead after West Allegheny scored those 2 touchdowns by Will Weber. Took a 14-0 lead. Baldwin responded with a touchdown and 2-point conversion and a pretty solid field goal there at the end of the first half to make this only a 3-point game against the defending Class 5A champions in the WPIAL.
Very interesting first half. We'll see if either West Allegheny can pile it on, or will the second half misfortunes continue for head coach Bob Palco and his staff. Stay tuned as it's now halftime here from Joe P. DeMcCullough Stadium. We'll be right back on the West Allegheny Sports Network. Stay tuned to the halftime show. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the field the pride of Baldwin High School, the Baldwin Highlander Marching Band. What are you afraid of? For some it might be spiders, others maybe snakes, or maybe you have a fear of water or fire or crowds. In our 2017 show titled Phobias, the Highlander Marching Band takes a look at the things that terrify us. Our openers, Spiders and Snakes, explore some of nature's smallest yet most terrifying creatures. Our second selection explores the fear of water and being alone. And the band's closer looks at the fear of loud noises, as well as fire and large crowds. Drum majors Kaylee Wall and DJ Patel. Is your band ready? Ladies and gentlemen, presenting their 2017 show, Phobias, the Baldwin Highlander Marching Band.
The Highlander Marching Band is under the field command of drum major Kaylee Wall and DJ Patel. The director of the band is Mr. Gregory Speedo, and the assistant director is Lindsay Verno. The color guard co-directors are Darian Babinger and Christy Gray. And the percussion co-directors are Abby Rick and Michael Garbutt. Additional fall staff includes Megan Chamberlain, Haley Kerr, Garrett Alaguchi, Derek Jobs, and Josh Anishenko. The Baldwin Highlander Marching Band would like to wish the West Allegheny best of luck on tonight's performance. Thank you for your kind attention this evening, and go Highlanders! Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2017 West Allegheny Marching Band Halftime Show. Our show theme this year is School of Rock.
And features music by Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses, and Led Zeppelin. The band is under the field leadership of seniors Evan Armstrong and Katie Borgo. Our opening number was written by Steven Tyler and was debuted in 1973. We will feature horn soloist Abby Leslie as we perform Aerosmith's Dream On. Ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and enjoy our show, School of Rock.
Our second number was released in August of 1988 and was Guns N' Roses' only song to top the Billboard Hot 100 chart. Now we will perform Sweet Child of Mine, featuring trumpet soloist Michael Kosnick. show this evening with a song that was voted number 3 in VH1's list of the 100 greatest rock songs of all time. This song will feature trumpet soloist Morgan Swayze, trumpet duet Alex Berhosky and Amy Nolte, and trombone soloist Aaron Berg. Ladies and gentlemen, Stairway to Heaven. The band is under the direction of TJ Fox, who thought we would also like to thank Al Cagini, Lou Didio, Steve Grova, Larry Gubash, Emily Hogue, Joe Seibel, and Elena Smith for their dedication to the band. Enjoy the second half of the game.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you purchase a ticket for the autographed James Conner football, the winning raffle number is 616665. I'll repeat, 616665. If you have the winning ticket, please come to the press box and claim your prize. Also, some other scores around the Allegheny 9. The Hampton Talbots trail Gateway 21-14. Woodland Hills leads Chartiers Valley at half 14-0. Early in the second quarter, North Hills leads Moon 10-3. And at halftime, Fox Chapel 3, Upper St. Clair 0.
Thank you, Brandon. And now we have the winning number for the 50-50 raffle. And we'll also have the winning numbers for the $1,000 boosters drawing that's been going on for a number of months. First of all, the 50-50 raffle. If you have a blue ticket, 355-221. 355-221. Take that ticket to the refreshment stand and pick up.
To the West Allegheny Sports Network, where the Indians lead Baldwin 14-11. But even though West Allegheny's in front, Baldwin has the momentum right now as they're hanging in there with one of the top teams in all of the WPIAL.
Absolutely, Brandon. West Allegheny able to capitalize on a turnover late in the first quarter to take a 7-0 lead. They scored quickly again in the second quarter. Both touchdowns scored by Will Weber. And Baldwin easily able to respond almost nonchalantly, adding a field goal at the end of the first half and making this a surprising 3-point game at the half against the defending WPIAL Class 5A champions.
It's going to be an interesting second half, especially considering that Baldwin last week was in a similar situation against the Upper St. Clair Panthers, fought by actually 8 points last week to the Panthers before Upper St. Clair rolled away with it. 42-12 was the final in that one, where Upper St. Clair just laid it on early, had a very strong third quarter, and Baldwin, well, they couldn't really do much of anything in the second half, whereas West Allegheny, they struggled in the second half of games, giving up 2 touchdowns to Fox Chapel while allowing North Hills to tie in regulation 2 weeks ago, the last home game here at West Allegheny High School. And last week, West Allegheny led at the half 30-8 over Chartiers Valley, and then Chartiers Valley scored 3 touchdowns, all passing. 2 pass, 1 rushing. And the Indians were able to defeat Chartiers Valley. As you see the stat line, most of the scoring for Chartiers Valley came in that second half, particularly in the fourth quarter. Most of the reserves were in at that point, but the point stands that West Allegheny needs to play a complete game, especially if it wants to repeat as WPIAL 5A champions. Baldwin won the opening coin toss and elected to receive, so West Allegheny will receive to begin half number 2. We got here after a pair of touchdown runs late in the first quarter, early in the second, by Will Weber, 4 yards and 9 yards away, respectively, while Baldwin made it interesting with a 7-yard run by Angelo Priori out of the Wildcat keeper. Faked the defense on the right-hand side, and then after a fake extra point, made this game a 14-8 game, and then the Highlanders tacked on 3 more from 34 yards out from senior kicker Jake Monroe to lead the score as we stand right now. 14-11 is the score right now at the half. The Indians on top of the Baldwin Highlanders. Taking a look at some other scores around the Allegheny 9. Woodland Hills, no surprise, leading Chartiers Valley 14-0. North Hills leads Moon 10-3, while Hampton in a surprisingly close game to Gateway, 21-14 is the score there. In the second quarter, that game is at or around halftime, while Fox Chapel at the half leads Upper St. Clair 3-0, which is very, very interesting, especially since Upper St. Clair, as we mentioned, is one of the top teams in the Allegheny 9, and it's trailing to a Fox Chapel team that was down at one point 34-7 to West Allegheny in week 1. So Monroe will tee it off. Will Weber and Dante Flatty will go back deep to receive. Should be an interesting second half here from Joe P. DiMcCullough Stadium as Monroe will squib this one to the right-hand side, and it's a race to the football. And it'll be won by one of the West Allegheny upmen who fall on it at the 35-yard line. That's Tyler Gallant. And the Indians will start from its own 35-yard line.
Good field position to start this drive for West Allegheny. They have not been blessed with that so far in this game. Baldwin usually on the receiving end, a very good field position, starting beyond their own 40-yard line, but West Allegheny with a prime opportunity here to start the second half.
The only two times where West Allegheny started in Baldwin territory were the two times in which the Indians went down to score earlier on in the first half. And taking a look now, Will Weber on the first play of the second half. Runs to the left-hand side. A nice run for him. Gets down to the 47-yard line on a 12-yard pickup. 1st and 10 coming up for the Indians. Ball spotted out on the left hash. Weber's been carrying this team for the past couple of weeks. The player of the week, I should say, the past couple of weeks. And definitely helping his favor here to become the player of the week for the 4th consecutive week. Weber, direct snap, left side, gets a block from Stouts, and he's brought down as he crosses Baldwin territory down to the 46-yard line.
Will Weber by far having the most success so far for West Allegheny. 5 players so far have been taking snaps for the Indians. But the most success coming from Weber, scoring those 2 touchdowns, and they seem to have success here on their first drive of the second half with Weber in the backfield.
Well, Weber will trot out for now, and Dante Flatty will take his place as the Wildcat QB. He had 128 yards last week in the win versus Chartiers Valley on 15 carries. Flatty goes up the middle, a nice block from the left-hand side, down to the 30, turns on the Jets, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Dante Flatty. A 46-yard touchdown run by the junior tailback, Dante Flatty. West Allegheny scores early in the second half in just the first 1 minute and 15 seconds. A beautiful turn of events there for the junior tailback, Dante Flatty. Some nice blocking there from the left side of that offensive line. Anthony Delavade and Seth Rosen opening up a huge hole, but it's a fake on the extra point. Ledford throws into the end zone, and it's intercepted. And West Allegheny's tally will remain at 20 for this 9-point lead against the Fighting Highlanders.
Extra point will be notified, and the score now is West Allegheny 20.
The West Allegheny Indians starting off this second half very strong after a 46-yard touchdown scamper by Dante Flatty, the longest run of his career, and his 6th touchdown of his sixth touchdown of the year, 7th in his varsity career. Flatty missed all of last season due to injury, and he was able to come back, but it was during the PIAA quarterfinal game against the Meadville Bulldogs, and at that point West Allegheny had already established its running backs. So Dante Flatty getting his opportunity this year, making the most of it, and really has been a very nice compliment to Will Weber, taking some of the load off of Weber's back and in some cases outperforming Weber offensively.
Yeah, those two have been the key to West Allegheny's success, at least for tonight as well. That Wildcat, with those two sharing the backfield, has been everything for West Allegheny on offense thus far.
Colby Stout will kick it away. It's a high but short kick that will be taken on the run by Dre Howell at the 15-yard line. He'll race to the left-hand side. Correction, that's Nasir Penn. Penn gets a nice block by Zach Pettit, but it's going to come back for a helmet-to-helmet contact. So Nasir Penn, a nice run there. And what would have been a nice block by Pettit will turn out to be the Achilles heel for that kick return.
On the return team, 15 yards from the front of the foul. First down, Baldwin.
So it's an illegal blindside block, which is new to high school football rules. You can't hit a defenseless defender as a trying to make a tackle. And this was last year. That would have just been a beautiful block by Pettit. You see here the crackback by Pettit. Would have been legal last year, but here in 2017, that is not the case. It's a 15-yard penalty pushing the Fighting Highlanders back to the 30. Getting the start in the second half at quarterback is Jeremy Jenkins. He has 3 receivers to his right, but will hand off to Priori. Priori getting away from some tacklers, and he's going to be taken down by Isaiah Crow at the 45-yard line. So we're right back where the penalty happened, and it's a 1st and 10 for Baldwin.
Isaiah Crow, number 18, is stopped.
The Highlanders will go no huddle, something we've seen scarcely throughout the game. Jenkins back in a quarterback, hands off again to Priori. He's been the workhorse for Baldwin. And once again, Isaiah Crow comes in and makes the stop. Crow's had a very nice game defensively, coming from his cornerback position, making some key hits and some tackles for West Allegheny. Isaiah Crow, the cornerback for West Allegheny, standing at 6'6", is probably one of, if not the tallest corner in all of the WPIAL. He's originally from Obama Academy. Didn't play his sophomore year, wanted to focus on basketball. His brother Elijah, as a matter of fact, was an all-conference shooting forward his senior year, and he now plays basketball at CCAC. The draw handoff, Isaiah Felix, and there's nothing doing for him. He's initially hit by Brett Mangold at the knees, and it's cleaned up by 2 or 3 Indians. And Baldwin's backed up to the 43.
Very delayed handoff there from Jenkins to Felix. Felix stumbled getting out of the backfield, and West Allegheny was able to wrap him up behind the line of scrimmage to set up a 3rd and long for the Highlanders.
It is a 3rd down coming up for Baldwin. Ball is at the 43-yard line. The Highlanders had a nice pickup on 1st down to begin the drive by Angelo Priori, and has stalled ever since. Jenkins with a 3-step drop. Nice pocket presence by Jenkins, but he's going to be wrapped up at the line of scrimmage. Anthony Devilvade makes the big hit, and Baldwin will send out the punt team.
Anthony Devilvade, number 54, the stop. 4th down for the Highlanders.
So Baldwin unable to move the ball on that possession, and will give the ball right back to West Allegheny. Jake Monroe on the punt, trailing by 9 with 8:25 to play in the 3rd quarter. Punt nearly blocked, and we're going to get a roughing the punter call against West Allegheny. Nico Flatty came charging in on Monroe and got a hand on the ball, or at least that's what West Allegheny coaches are signaling on the near sideline. Monroe got knocked down, which initiated the flag to be thrown by the head referee, Frank D'Amico, and now after the conclave, here's the call.
No foul on the play. The ball was tipped.
A close call there. Would have been a free 1st down for Baldwin, but instead, after discussion amongst the officials, West Allegheny will have the ball again at the 27-yard line where the ball rolled out of bounds.
If West Allegheny can score here, it would really do a lot to damage the morale of Baldwin here, Brandon. Baldwin was able to hang close with Upper St. Clair last week before the Panthers unleashed in the second half. West Allegheny looking to do the same in this second half.
Second half woes looking to be put to a halt in this game versus Baldwin. West Allegheny scoring its 1st touchdown in the 3rd quarter recently, but here comes Mateo Vandamia, breaks away. A foot race down to the 40-yard line, slaps away Zach Pettit. Correction, that's Jared Kelly, and Vandamia will go all the way for a 73-yard touchdown pass. And Mateo Vandamia, doing all the heavy lifting there, just trucks over Jaron Kelly en route to the touchdown.
Was able to totally fool the cornerback for Baldwin, Nazir Penn, cut down inside and was on his way. Nobody back there to stop him, as you see on the replay here.
There you see there, he slapped the defender down, Jaron Kelly. Not just a stiff arm, but almost like Mateo Vandamia was saying, get off me. But taking a look now, the extra point on the way for Colby Stout out of the hold of Noah Ledford, and the kick is up and good. The second touchdown scored in the third quarter by West Allegheny in this season, and it's the longest run of the year. A 73-yard pass play from Cruz to Vandamia. West Allegheny's lead is now 27-11. We talked about in the pregame about how West Allegheny needs to play a complete two halves. The first half, a little bit of a downer for West Allegheny. The Indians scored early and often, late in the first quarter, early in the second, but then after that, they really stalled in the second quarter. Baldwin got 11 points in that second quarter against West Allegheny, and the Fighting Highlanders had momentum, but heading into the second half, West Allegheny just slammed the door shut on Baldwin with a long touchdown run by Dante Flatty in the first minute and 15 seconds of the third quarter, and then Vandamia streaks 73 yards to the house on a one-play drive. West Allegheny now leads 27-11 with 8 minutes left in the third quarter.
Number 9, along with
Stout to kick it off. Latchett and Penn will go back deep. This one's taken by Penn again. This is the fourth kick return for the sophomore, and he's hit hard at the 15-yard line. Tyler Gallant makes the stop. Correction, that is Isaiah Longstreth making the big-time stop at the 15-yard line. Baldwin is backed up deep in its own territory.
Penn was truly surrounded. He was unable to get much of anywhere. A slew of West Allegheny special teamers able to gather him up inside his own 20. And Baldwin, very uncharacteristic of tonight's action, with some pretty bad field position to start this drive where they need points.
Baldwin now backed up, and historically, West Allegheny, a very good second-half team, flexing its muscles here against the hapless Highlanders. Jenkins, screen pass, right side, complete to Latchett. Gets a block from Kelly. Weaves his way around a couple defenders and falls forward to about the 22-yard line. Tackled on the play by the linebacker, Anthony Delavade. It's now second down and 3 from the 22-yard line for Baldwin. Looking to get something going offensively. It stalled on its first drive in the second half before West Allegheny broke away with a 73-yard touchdown pass from quarterback Cam Cruz to wide receiver / tight end Mateo Vandamia. But Priori trying to get something out of it, and he's met by Nico Flatty along with Anthony Delavade, who was pancaked there by the left guard Harrison Merlot, but still made the tackle, tripping up Priori's knees, and it's third down and 3. Anthony Delavade recently committing to Duquesne earlier in the week, not joining his brother Armin at Youngstown State, but instead will try to lead the Dukes to a championship berth, just like how Armin did last season with Youngstown State. Jenkins rolls to the left, and he's going to be pinballed between a few West Allegheny defenders. Brent Mangle with the initial hit. Nate Vislowski cleans it up, and it's a 3-and-out for Baldwin.
Jenkins on almost an option there, as you see on the replay. He appeared he wanted to try to get it away to Latchett, but he was unable to do so and just had to tuck it in As you see there, he tried to shovel it away, but he was unable to do so.
Latchett was in double coverage. Delevade, the linebacker, creeping up in front, and Crow was trying to tiptoe his way from the backside. So Jenkins, no other option but to go down. High snap to Monroe. It's taken, and he gets it away. It's a low one that will take an awkward bounce at the 48-yard line where it's scooped up by Nick Latchett. West Allegheny will start from its own 48-yard line.
A lot of the trouble that Baldwin's running into early in this second half is the fact that the field position fortune that they were given in the first half has kind of gone away. West Allegheny given some pretty good field position so far on their 3 drives in the second half. The first 2 have resulted in points. Let's see what they can do on this third, starting from their own 48-yard line.
Dante Flatty comes in again. He'll be in the backfield, join alongside Van Damia and McBain. McBain, normally lining up as a tight end, has seen some action at fullback. Gets a nice block from Van Damia. Is the running back Flatty. He runs forward to about the 43-yard line. That's a 9-yard pickup by the junior, Dante Flatty. It's 2nd down and 1. The transfer from Hopewell. He transferred in before his freshman season. Also as a gladiator wrestler alongside some of the more successful wrestlers here at West Allegheny, such as the McGeary family, which is actually coached by the Gladiator Wrestling program is coached by Rocky McGeary and is also a very successful youth football coach here at West Allegheny. Flatty up the middle. He weaves his way through traffic, picks up the first down as he's clotheslined to the turf by Isaiah Felix to the 35-yard line.
West Allegheny getting a very good push, including their offensive line, with Mateo Van Damia lining it up in the tight end position and their fullback, Ian McBain, able to get a real good push on this drive inside Baldwin 40-yard line.
West Allegheny moving the ball really well against the Baldwin defense. As Flatty, all sorts of room on the right-hand side, but he gets bumped out of bounds by Felix at about the 30-yard line. Isaiah Felix, an interesting story, was projected to be a 3-year starter at least for Baldwin, but missed all of last season. In the first scrimmage of the game against Ringgold, he broke his leg, and that was a really big loss for Baldwin. He was pretty much set to be the starting tailback for the Fighting Highlanders, and injuries thrusted running backs such as David Johnston, Josh DiNardo into that role. And Felix is back and is looking to make an impact in his junior year. 2nd and 5 from the 30. Ty Gallant into the Wildcat formation. Goes off the right-hand side to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Tyler Gallant. A 30-yard run from Tyler Gallant off the right-hand side. Some great blocking from the right tackle, Sebastian Ricketts, and West Allegheny has piled it on here in the second half. You take a look at the replay here. Tyler Gallant getting his first rushing touchdown of the season. A key block there from the right guard, Bryce Manley, opening up a huge hole on that right side, and there was nothing that Baldwin could do there. High snap to Ledford on the extra point, and the kick is wide left by Colby Stout. So West Allegheny with a 19-point third quarter, and we still got 4 minutes and 25 seconds to go in the third frame. The Indians piling it on against the Baldwin Highlanders. 33-11 is the score.
Yeah, very quick turn of events. A lot of eyebrows were raised at the beginning of this third quarter when West Allegheny came out of the locker room looking at only a 3-point lead over the last place Baldwin Highlanders, but certainly has showed up a different team so far in this second half, leading 19-0 in points so far in the third quarter, and they're up 33-11 with just over 4 minutes left.
Interesting score around the Allegheny 9. The game of the week in the conference is Fox Chapel and Upper St. Clair. The Foxes, with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the third quarter, are leading the Panthers 10-7 after a 1-yard touchdown run by senior running back Michael Morris. So Fox Chapel looking to stun the heavily favored Upper St. Clair Panthers. Colby Stout kicks it away, but it's going to stay in bounds, and it's taken by Howell on the sideline, and he's going to be hit hard by Paul Fedorka right on the 8-yard line on the left side of the field. Howell took a hit on that play. He's slow to get up. Baldwin will start deep in its own territory, and I mean deep in its own territory. Fedorka on that run, on that tackle.
For a water break.
On that tackle, he came in like a missile, untouched there, and Howell took it on an awkward bounce, tried to cut up the middle of the field, and really there was nothing that Howell could do. Fedorka jumped all over that play, and he's one of the standout sophomores expected to get a lot of playing time in the coming weeks, and will probably be a starter next season if things go his way. Other games around the conference as well. As I mentioned, Fox Chapel hosting the Upper St. Clair Panthers in the game of the week. The Foxes are 1-2 with losses to West Allegheny and North Hills, but upsetting Woodland Hills 22-21 after the Wolverines couldn't get a field goal in the final seconds of the game. And another interesting score, an old foe of West Allegheny, Central Valley, trailing Quaker Valley at halftime, 19-0. Central Valley was expected to compete for WPIL gold with Aliquippa in Class 3A, and Quaker Valley obviously having something to say about that. A very late flag before Jenkins could hand off to Latchett. This is going to be a false start, but very, very late to call it was head referee Frank D'Amico.
Illegal substitution. Baldwin, they broke the huddle with 12 guys. 5-yard penalty. First down.
So it will be a 5-yard penalty nonetheless. Ball is at the 4-yard line.
That's half the distance to the goal.
West Allegheny had a safety last week in a similar situation to close out the game. There'd be nothing more that Brian Cornell, the defensive coordinator, would have loved more than to get a second safety against Baldwin. Something like this happened last year as well, after Matt Holmes recorded a safety after tackling David Johnston in the end zone. As the timeout is taken by head coach Lauren Cooley and his Baldwin Fighting Highlander team. Cooley, in his first year here at Baldwin, was the offensive coordinator at Clairton last year, coaching Lamont Wade and Noah Hamlin. Part of a team that, on average, scored 41 points and rolled its way to a state runner-up finish, losing to Bishop Guilfoyle 17-0 in the championship game. Before his tenure at Clairton last year, he was an assistant coach over at Plum and at Gateway. Plum coming off of a shocking 33-7 win at Franklin Regional, while Gateway is one of the favorites to take the WPIL Class 5A title. He's a state trooper at 38 years old, was a standout wide receiver at Duquesne. He said he wants to instill a winning attitude at Baldwin, which is something that hasn't been there in years. And he said that's one of his biggest challenges. And he tries to instill that by running college-like practices so that way Baldwin can be more conditioned than its opponents. But the handoff, correction, the keeper to Priori. He slips through a tackle at the goal line, but the play is cleaned up. Kyle Guilfoyle coming in, making the stop at the 1-yard line. Also getting on the stop, Vinny Staub, right at the goal line, and Baldwin will be backed up. Ball's going to be plays at about the 3-yard line, which is where the forward progress was stopped. 2nd and 15. There you see Will Weber on your screen, who has carried his team over the past several weeks. He now has 7 touchdowns on the season after scoring 2 here tonight, looking to add on to his total. Jenkins stands in the end zone. Drops back, and we will have a pre-snap whistle from head referee Frank D'Amico.
Timeout. Baldwin.
So the Highlanders will burn another timeout. That's their second of the second half, and that's something head coach Lauren Cooley did not want to do. His coaching staff consists of offensive coordinator Mauro Mons, he was formerly the head coach at Carleton, but stepped down in the middle of the season in 2014. Also was a former assistant coach at Youngstown State, Robert Morris, Akron, and Pittsburgh, and a school that Anthony Delavade will be familiar with, Duquesne. While his defensive coordinator is Darren Walls, a former standout at Woodland Hills. His brother is recent Steel Valley graduate Paris Ford. Yes, that Paris Ford, who goes to Pitt right now. Darren Walls played in the NFL for the Atlanta Falcons, New York Jets, and the Detroit Lions from 2011 to 2016. Meanwhile, Bob Palkos, in his 23rd year at West Allegheny, has compiled 203 wins against only 67 losses. Was a graduate of West Allegheny in the class of 1978. Went on to play quarterback at Montana Tech and was formerly a coach at IUP and Seton LaSalle before eventually ending up at his alma mater, where I would say he's compiled a pretty good career in his 23rd year at West Allegheny. Direct snap to Latchett, trying to get out of his own end of the field, and he gets down to the 5-yard line.
Number 9, Latchett.
A tribe of Indians make the stop. Among them, Paul Fedorka, David Pritchett.
Only a couple yards there from Latchett, but what he was at least able to do was at least push Baldwin away from their own goal line, a little less in jeopardy of being scored a safety against, which would not be what the Highlanders would want.
But it's something that defensive coordinator Brian Cornell would very much want. On a 3rd down and about 13 from the Baldwin 5-yard line. Jenkins at his goal line. Rolls out to his right. He needs to get out of there. He completes the pass to the right side. Short of the first down to the 12-yard line. Goes the receiver, and that's going to bring out the punt team. Baldwin has to be careful here that the punt doesn't get blocked or that the snap doesn't go over the head of the punter, Monroe. We saw in the last punt the snap went high before Monroe was able to get it before a block or a recovery could be made, but again, Baldwin needs to be careful here. Monroe's punts, a nice one down to the 49-yard line where it's taken by Noah Letford. Letford slips through a couple tacklers, but there's a flag down at the 44-yard line. Right on the top of the A in the WA logo at midfield. Once again, the refereeing crew for tonight's game. Head referee Frank D'Amico. The umpire is Don Trimber. Head linesman Bill Mahoney. Line judge Rico Davis.
Return team. 10 yards from the spot of the foul. First down, Baldwin.
Field judge is Ryan Trimber, and side judge is Brian Bergman. Ryan Trimber is the son of umpire Don Trimber. We had a similar situation in week 1 where 2 referees were the son of the head referee in week 1 against Fox Chapel. But nonetheless, West Allegheny, after a block in the back penalty, will have the ball 1st and 10 from its own 44-yard line. Tyler Gallant in at the Wildcat QB. He had a nice 30-yard run to put West Allegheny up by 22, and here's another nice run. Spinning his way down past the 45-yard line where Zach Pettit will spin him to the turf. It's 2nd down and 1 after a 9-yard gain by the senior Tyler Gallant, and huge Pittsburgh Pirates and New England Patriot fan.
Story so far in the second half has been the explosion of the West Allegheny offense from that Wildcat, as well as their lockdown defense. They allowed 21 points in the second half last week, trying to limit Baldwin to a lot less this time around.
The last graphic you just saw, something that is key to point out, West Allegheny in 4 weeks has only had 1 turnover, and that was technically an interception, but it was a play in which Fox Chapel linebacker took the ball out of Van Damia's hands, which has been very impressive if you're offensive coordinator Mark Davis in terms of handling the ball, not turning it over, and West Allegheny hasn't had a turnover since week 1. Tyler Gallant picks up the first down right at the middle as the Indians will have a new set of downs at the 38-yard line with now a minute remaining in the 3rd period.
Number 33 to stop.
So Will Weber's day at the Wildcat QB position looks as if is complete. Dante Flatty may see some action, but Tyler Gallant, the 3rd running back at West Allegheny, will take the direct snap, runs forward, and he's brought down to the 32-yard line. Tackle on the play by Matt Bowman. 2nd down and 4. After Gallant picks up 6. And it looks like Flatty's going to come in as the Wildcat QB.
At the Baldwin 32.
We've seen a lot of Wildcat from West Allegheny, as looks like the Indians will head into the 4th quarter with a commanding 22-point lead over the Baldwin Highlanders. But as I was saying, the West Allegheny offense has been run first, like it has been in years past. But last year, after stepping a little bit away from the running game and going more of a balanced kind of offense, now with a junior and sophomore quarterback at the helm, at this point, you know, West Allegheny going back to that run-first mentality, only passing it about 10 times a game, which is very similar to what the case was back, at least in my sophomore year, when West Allegheny won the WPIAL championship in 2012. And the quarterback situation there, a sophomore quarterback in Andrew Kester, who originally committed to St. Francis, is now at Slippery Rock. That team was full of now Division I players such as Chase Dillon, who is now at Duquesne playing safety. Armin Delavate, as we mentioned, the starting linebacker and lead tackler at Youngstown State. Despite his only 5'10" size, he's one of the best players at Youngstown State. Andrew Kester was Division I. Now he's over at Slippery Rock. Terrence Stevens was getting his first glimpse of action at running back. And also the starting center now at Duquesne was Justin Baker. He was a freshman on that team. 2nd down and 4 from the 32-yard line. West Allegheny knocking on the door as Dante Flatty runs to the left. Flatty is tripped up by Takoa Henry as he gets the first down to the 26-yard line.
Picks up a first down for West Allegheny.
Score update in the Allegheny 9. Jack Hansberry of Upper St. Clair with a touchdown run puts the Panthers on top of Fox Chapel 14-10. But the Foxes have the ball inside the 10-yard line of Upper St. Clair. And also Moon and North Hills tied at 17, which is something we didn't expect here at West Allegheny. But Dante Flatty, a nice run up the middle, powering his way forward as he falls to the 10-yard line. Tackled on the play by Connor Lavelle and Jeremy Jenkins.
West Allegheny's been truly successful at this Wildcat tonight, Brandon, but they could have not done it without their tight end, Mateo Van Damia, who's even taken a couple snaps back there himself tonight, as well as the fullback Ian McBain, absolutely plowing the way for this Wildcat formation to work out for the Indians.
You can sponsor the West Allegheny Sports Network. If you want to advertise here on the Sports Network, please email us at sponsor@wasportsnetwork.com. As Tyler Gallant up the middle, and he runs into the end zone. An 11-yard touchdown run by Tyler Gallant, and West Allegheny is a point away from cracking 40.
Number 8, Tyler Gallant goes the distance.
It wasn't pretty in the first half, but West Allegheny has dominated the second half of the game and is now up by 4 possessions. Tyler Gallant running from north-south to east-west, burning the clock out as much as he can for as little as it was. Stout kicks the extra point successfully, making the score 40-11. West Allegheny on top of the Baldwin Fighting Highlanders.
West Allegheny 40 and Baldwin 11.
The West Allegheny Indians will travel to Kiski next week in a Week 5 showdown, non-conference game against the Kiski Cavaliers over in Vandergrift, Pennsylvania, before returning home for what is probably the game of the year, at least in the regular season. West Allegheny hosts Upper St. Clair, an Upper St. Clair team that is pretty much a carbon copy of West Allegheny. They're a run-first team, solid defensively. They've struggled a bit against some lesser-known teams, or at least not as successful teams. But Upper St. Clair are finding a way to get it done most of the time. The Panthers' only loss on the season was to Steubenville in Week 0, a 37-7 drubbing against one of the top teams in the state of Ohio. And also in Week 7, West Allegheny will travel to Hampton to take on the revived Talbots over in Allison Park. Stouts will kick it off. Back deep, Penn and Latchett yet again for West Allegheny. Stout, end over end, taken by Latchett on the run at the 17-yard line. And he splits the kick coverage down to the 35-yard line. And a nice tackle made by Will Weber coming up and tripping him up shoestring. But Latchett down to the 39-yard line, a nice return for him, and it's 1st and 10 from there.
Latchett was able to cut down the right side of the field. He almost got away there, but a good from-behind tackle made by Will Weber to stop the surging Latchett and keep Baldwin from only increasing to their own 39-yard line. But still decent field position for the Highlanders as they try to stop the massive momentum swing that West Allegheny's gotten so far in this second half.
Baldwin had the momentum going into halftime, but almost an exact replica of what happened last week against Upper St. Clair. The Highlanders collapsing in the second half. West Allegheny scoring 27 unanswered points, make that 26. And the Indians have piled it on here in the second half. Jenkins throws the screen pass to Latchett, left side. And he's tripped up by Colliers, crossing the 45-yard line. Baldwin will have a 2nd down and 3 from the 46-yard line. Nick Latchett's really been the workhorse tonight for this Baldwin Highlander team. He hasn't gotten a lot of love as Baldwin mainly relies on Stahl, Angelo Priori, Dre Howell, who's been rather quiet tonight. But Latchett, he's been very impressive and clutch for Baldwin as well. Priori runs into a wall of Indians. Vinny Staub in on the stop alongside David Pritchett, and looks like Will Weekelt. Correction, that is David Pritchett, but it's 3rd down and 2 from the 47-yard line.
Priori really unable to get anything going so far tonight, Brennan. Most of the play-to-play offense for Baldwin has come from Latchett so far in this one.
A 3rd down coming up for the Baldwin Fighting Highlanders. Seems like they've been faced with this all night, converting a couple times, but for the most part unsuccessfully. Jenkins unleashes left sideline, and ball will fall incomplete, intended for Jaron Kelly. Colby Stout was in front of it the whole way, nearly intercepting that ball, but it went through his breadbasket. And the Highlanders are going to punt again. Noah Letford will go back deep to receive the punt. That'll be kicked off by a new punter for Baldwin. That is Jackson Brandween, the junior. More than likely will be the starting kicker next season. His sister, Emma, is also on the team as well, wearing number 19. And she also is a kicker for Baldwin, which is something you normally don't see, which is a female on a football team.
Illegal substitution.
As Baldwin will get tagged
Illegal
for a
substitution. Defense. 12 men.
For a
5-yard penalty.
West Allegheny will be tagged with an illegal substitution, giving up
Result of the play
free
will be
yardage
first down,
to Baldwin.
5-yard penalty, illegal substitution called against the Indians.
It's a 5-yard illegal substitution against West Allegheny, which that is something that burns Bob Palco to his core. He absolutely despises whenever a team or a player that plays for him just gives up those silly penalties, such as the illegal substitution right there, and you've seen a couple of those throughout the course of the season. And another pre-snap whistle. Timeout taken by West Allegheny.
First timeout of the second half.
Don't forget the Baldwin Highlanders as well. Taking a look at their schedule, will host North Hills next week before hosting Connellsville in a non-conference game. Connellsville, one of the most least successful teams in not just 5A but in all of the WPIAL. So that'd be a game in which Baldwin will look to rack up some stats and some points as well. While in Week 7, Baldwin will travel to Fox Chapel and take on the Foxes, who are keeping it close with Upper St. Clair. Back and forth game going on there. Last we checked, it was 14-10. Upper St. Clair on top of Fox Chapel. Now Fox Chapel on top of Upper St. Clair, 17-14. Things are getting very interesting up in Aspinwall. It's a 1st and 10 for Baldwin at the 48 after the illegal substitution penalty. As Priori tries to get something going, but he's tackled after a gain of about 1 by Isaac Longstreth for a 2nd down and 9. Longstreth was getting taped up before the game. He had to miss out on some of the warm-ups to get his right shoulder taped up. But good to see him out on the field and playing. Longstreth, he's one of the workhorses for West Allegheny. He doesn't get a whole lot of love in terms of playing defensively, but he rotates in and out with Ian McBain offensively, and Longstreth expected to get lots of playing time as the time goes on, but a flag flies as Jenkins completes the pass to his tight end Aaron Novak. Novak brought out of bounds by Kyle Guilfoyle. And the pre-snap penalty for Baldwin looks like we'll back them up 5 yards. Taking a look at the penalty here, see what happened.
Illegal formation, offense. 5 men in the backfield.
The call is a false start,
penalty.
but I didn't see much movement on that offensive line, or really the offense in general.
Illegal percentage.
But the ball will be backed up 5 yards. Inside Highlander territory to the 48. And that's where Baldwin will set up a 2nd down and 14.
2nd down, 14.
Jeremy Jenkins in at quarterback, replacing Mason Stahl. Stahl threw an interception earlier in the game, which kind of helped open the floodgates for West Allegheny in the end of the first quarter into the second, as Priori's tackled by Pritchett down to the 47-yard line.
A huge key so far for West Allegheny has been stopping this Baldwin running back Angelo Priori. Limited him to very few yardage so far today. He's had a lot of 1- and 2-yard gains, and that's been the key so far for this defense that's held Baldwin to only 11 points thus far.
3rd and 9 from the 47-yard line. Baldwin very unsuccessful on 3rd down in the season, and then will be unsuccessful on this 3rd down attempt. Priori's brought down in the backfield by a slew of West Allegheny defenders, including Kyle Merritt, and it's 4th down. Baldwin, coming into this game, was 4 for 23 on third down, which is only 17%, while West Allegheny defensively is holding opponents to 26% on third down, so that's not a good combination for Baldwin's offense, as the punt team is out for Jackson Brandwein. Punt is off. Took a little bit for him to get the snap off, but fair catch signaled, and the ball will roll to the left side of the 14-yard line.
The Rose kick will be down inside the 15.
West Allegheny with a commanding 29-point lead over Baldwin, and the second string will come into the game. So the varsity players will rest up for next week, a non-conference game against the Kiski Cavaliers, who have dominated Connellsville,
First down 10 from the 14.
and will pick up their first win of the season against the Falcons. Cam Cruz, one of the starting quarterbacks alongside Jamie Diven, will remain in the game. This is basically a time for Bob Palco to develop either Cruz or Diven in this scenario. Cruz hands off. That is Kyle Merritt going off left tackle. He's brought down by Noah Bartik at the 15-yard line. That's a gain of 1 for the sophomore running back.
What a second-half swing for this Indians team. It was 14-11 after the first half, and on paper, very surprising to see between what was the number 1 and the last team in the Allegheny 9 conference. So shocking developments, but West Allegheny's really turned this around.
A dominant second half, which is something we haven't been used to seeing in this season. But historically, it's nothing but business for head coach Bob Palco. Merritt off left guard, and he will be tackled by Takoa Henry, who is a little bit slow to get up, favoring his arm, but will remain in the game. Third down and 8, ball the 16-yard line. Normally, Bob Palco doesn't like to run the score up, and obviously it's not very likely that the Indians will score on this, as they have to go 84 yards on this play if they want to score. But this could be a chance for Cam Cruz to show off his arm and see what he's got with the reserves in right now. And it is a bootleg pass, and Cruz is going to be sacked in the backfield. Noah Bartik and Jaquan Henderson Parker getting in on the sack, and West Allegheny will send the punt team out. Colby Stouts will trot on. He'll stand at the goal line as you take a look here. Cam Cruz didn't get a lot of help from the right side of the offensive line, as the initial pressure was brought on from that left outside linebacker, Connor Sidoric, just in time for Henderson Parker and company to finish the tackle. As Stouts will punt it away, pressure brought on by Charles Harris, and the ball will bounce out of bounds in front of the West Allegheny sideline, and it's Baldwin ball from the 35. West Allegheny on top 40-11 after a slow start in the first half, only going into the half leading by 3, scoring 4 touchdowns in the second half. A 46-yard run by Dante Flatty, a 73-yard pass play with most of the heavy lifting done by tight end Mateo Vandamia, a 30-yard touchdown run by Tyler Gallant, and another touchdown run, this time of 11 yards, by Gallant to start the fourth quarter, which is where we are right now. Baldwin's only score was a 7-yarder from Angelo Priori. And here is Priori again. He goes up the middle, powering forward, getting brought down by McBain at the 28-yard line. Ian McBain, the son of athletic director Dave McBain here at West Allegheny. As you take a look at the Allegheny 9 standings, St. Clair and West Allegheny tying for first place as we speak, while Baldwin down at the bottom of the standings, but that's only because they haven't gone out of the section yet, and they did not play a Week 0 game. Baldwin and West Allegheny were the only two teams in the Allegheny 9 that did not play in week 0. And both teams are on different sides of the spectrum. West Allegheny undefeated, while Baldwin winless on the young season. Priori, all kinds of room on the left-hand side. Gets a block from his wide receiver, and he falls forward to the 11-yard line.
We've been making a big deal how Nick Latchett has been a huge part of this offense for Baldwin, but throwing a huge block there along the left side to open up a huge hole for Priori to get Baldwin into prime scoring position late in the 4th.
Baldwin looking to tack on points, and at this point they're playing for pride after, in the first half, keeping it close before the floodgates opened in the second half. Jeremy Jenkins remains in at quarterback with Priori dotting the I. And Priori off right tackle. Slips through Kyle Guilfoyle and will be tripped up as he crosses the 8-yard line by Elijah Colliers. Baldwin down to the 6. Priori racking up his rushing total, but hasn't had that big-time run that Baldwin was hoping for. If you want to, his game long today has been 15 yards, but that was on a 3rd down and 17.
At the 6-yard
So
line.
even then, that long touchdown was, or that long run was all for naught. But Priori being the workhorse on the ground for the Highlanders. Handoff, Priori up the middle and nothing doing.
Priori goes up the middle.
David Pritchett caving in the middle of the offensive line as Harrison Merlot and Perry Herrera couldn't get out of the way for Angelo Priori. And it's 3rd down and 4 from the 5-yard line.
3rd down.
Upper St. Clair now leading Fox Chapel with 4.5 minutes left in the regulation. 21-17 is the score over in Fox Chapel. Third and 5. Priori now goes in the Wildcat. We've seen this in the second quarter, but mostly balanced offense in the second half. Priori trying to get the first down, but is swallowed up by a tribe of Indians leading the charge. Kyle Guilfoyle, Ian McBain, and amongst others. But Baldwin, at this point, they're going to keep the offense out on the field.
You saw Priori try to fake out that defense on the last play. It appeared as though he was going to cut to the left and ended up taking it right up the middle, but a swarm of Indians there to stop him, and it brings up a 4th down.
See there, a huge hole open up, but the linebacker filling that hole up. And on 4th down and 2 from the 3, West Allegheny burns a timeout. A minute and 16 to play in the game. West Allegheny will move on to a 4-0 start. We'll look to keep the game at a 40-11 game. But if Baldwin scores, it's still at least 3 possessions. A 3-score win for West Allegheny before heading out of the conference next week versus the Kiski Cavaliers, who have picked up their first win of the season, a victory over the Connellsville Falcons, one of the bottom feeders in all of Class 5A in the Whippeal.
And it would be a huge stop here for West Allegheny. I know the score's kind of gotten out of hand, and the points don't matter as much, but after allowing 21 second-half points last week to Chartiers Valley, it would truly be a big momentum shift for West Allegheny to limit this Baldwin Highlander team to 0 second-half points. To shut out Baldwin in the second half would be a huge momentum swing for the Indians.
So a 4th down and 2. The Baldwin offense will stay on the field. Even though this won't do much in terms of the final score,
1 for the 1st down.
This will be a huge momentum booster for Baldwin going forward if they can score. Jenkins drops back, throws over the middle, over the head of the tight end, Zach Pettit. And West Allegheny will take over on downs from the 3-yard line. And at this point, expect West Allegheny to set up in victory formation with 1 minute and 12 seconds showing in the game.
1 minute and 12 seconds.
Good coverage there by the inside linebacker, Michael Norman of the Indians. Not letting the Baldwin receiver get his hands in the air to catch that one. And it's first down West Allegheny here with time running out.
So Baldwin will not pick up its first win of the 2017 season. Put up a fight in the first half, but West Allegheny opening the floodgates in the second half, scoring 26 unanswered. And it looks like West Allegheny will try to get out of its end zone in the final minute and 12 seconds of the game. Kyle Merritt falling forward to the 5.
Kyle Merritt carries for West Allegheny.
And that'll set up a second down and 8 for West Allegheny. Stay tuned for updates on next week. We do not know at this point if we'll be able to broadcast from Kiski Area High School over in Vandergrift. We'll announce next week's broadcast status as soon as possible, not only on my Twitter, which is Brandon_Ross I, as an eyeball, but we'll also announce it on the WA Sports Network Twitter page, which is at WA Sports Network. You can follow us there on Twitter, where we post updates of the game and a link to our streams every single week. Merritt, right side, and nothing doing there. Gets down to the 8-yard line as West Allegheny will migrate to the middle of the field, and that'll be the ball game here from Joe P. DiMcCullough Stadium. The West Allegheny Indians struggling in the first half, but dominant in the second half, a reversal from last week. And the Indians come away victorious with a 40-11 triumph over the Baldwin Highlanders. The lowest point total a West Allegheny team has held an opponent. And a very, very good second half by West Allegheny, but still struggling to put together a complete game. It was a role reversal from last week, as I said, where last week in the first half they were dominant. Meanwhile, in the second half, nothing really was doing for them. This week, it's the opposite, where West Allegheny was able to come out in the second half firing, but in the first half, struggled a little bit to get going offensively. It took them a little bit, but eventually the Indians will come out victorious, and West Allegheny a 40-11 win over the Baldwin Highlanders.
Yes, Brandon, absolutely. Pretty big win here tonight for West Allegheny, taking on a bottom 3 team in the Allegheny 9 Conference in Baldwin. But Baldwin hang tough there for a little while, but West Allegheny able to show their superiority in the second half, outscoring Baldwin 26-0 in the third and fourth quarters, but really able to turn this thing around and push out to a pretty easy victory, 40-11.
So that's the final here from Joe P. DiMcCullough Stadium. Stay tuned on the West Allegheny Sports Network Twitter page to see if we will broadcast the game on the West Allegheny Sports Network. That is yet to be determined. Well, we will have an update for you next week. But for my partner, Mitch Montani, I'm Brandon Rossai saying thank you so much for joining us here on the West Allegheny Sports Network for Week 4 action from the Allegheny 9. West Allegheny victorious over Baldwin 40-11 on the West Allegheny Sports Network.